Joining me today is Russ Rossi, the founder, CEO, and director of Quantum One Cannabis, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Quantum Media, which trades on the CSE under the symbol QQ and on the OTCQB under the symbol QQQFF. Quantum Media Company is a company whose principal business activities focused on the development and delivery of exceptionally high quality computer training and consulting services, including but not limited to the marketing of computer-based educational programs, film production, and cannabis retail sales. And that was the order of business and was being the operative word here. That's because cannabis retail sales have now taken the priority position for the company. Over the past 24 months, Quantum One Cannabis has opened 7 retail outlets and sales have soared. Q3 revenue in 2021 compared with the same period last year has increased 672% from $169,000 to more than $1.3 million, and profit for the same period has increased by a staggering 463% from $124,000 to more than $576,000. Joining me now is Russ Rossi. Wow, Russ, talk about a pivot. Tell us how you managed to do it.
Well, hi, Stuart. Thanks for having me on. Well, I mean, we've been in business for years, and we've got a great team in terms of HR, organization, management. But we had an opportunity during our cannabis training to opt into some leases for cannabis retail. And as you know, Canada went legal for cannabis. So we thought, let's take a shot at this and see if we can use our existing experience with multiple locations with HR and supercharge a really good cannabis experience for retailers. And of course, it paid off. It was tough. The bureaucracy that you have to go through dealing with municipalities, the province, the federal government, and the fact that everybody else is it's a new game for everybody. It was a challenge for us, but we've been focusing on giving our consumers a great experience, a unique experience. We've been expanding the brand, and every month it pays off. A combination of people enjoying our stores. It's a combination of hitting it right. I mean, they say what's luck is when opportunity meets preparation, right? So, and of course, I think the market in general is growing. Acceptance of cannabis, the diminishment of people using black market cannabis, and I think the sky's the limit. It just gets bigger and bigger every month.
So was it easier to get into retail sales than trying to go through the process of becoming a licensed producer? Because that seems to be so complicated, and the amount of investment that's needed to go into that. Whereas I get the sense that you already had some of those relationships with producers because you were providing training in the sector, so that you were able to start to source products so that you could create your own brand without having to become a licensed producer. Do I have that right?
Well, I think that, partially. I mean, it's a bit complicated because you can't buy any cannabis for retail except through the government. So the government is a wholesaler. So they are the middleman between the producers, which we call LPs, and the retailers like us. Decide that you want to get in the cannabis business in British Columbia, for instance, you have to choose. You either have to be an LP, a producer, or you have to be a retailer. You can't be both. You can be a minority shareholder in one and a majority in the other. But you kind of have to focus. I'm not sure what their strategy is or what their philosophy is. Maybe they don't want people to produce their own product and then have them in the store. But to your first point about relationships, absolutely. We had a lot of relationships with the BC government, with the Liquor Control Board, who now controls cannabis, on the education side. So we already understood what was going on in the province. We understood what was required in the province. And we have a machine that is excellent at filling out 8,000-page applications, and our record is squeaky clean. So we meet the criteria all the time. I mean, we're already RCMP cleared, CSIS cleared. We have a lot of clearances on the training side because to get into the mainframes of some of the big institutions, you have to have very, very serious security checks. And we already had those. Not that we didn't have to do them again, but we knew they would clear.
Right, and so you knew that process. You knew how to build those relationships. So what was your first store, and how did you go about creating the brands that you were going to be able to, put on display for consumers?
Well, so when we first put our applications in, we put in 8 applications. and we got 7 of them. Okay, so we didn't get all the ones that we wanted. Only missed one, not a bad record. And the reason for that is because the city only wanted 3 stores, and we were number 4. In terms of creating a brand, our first store we got open was Cannabis, and Cannabis is in British Columbia. It's about I'm going to say 175 miles east of Vancouver on the U.S. border. Our second store was Grand Forks, which is 300 miles east. And our next store was Vernon, which is up by Kelowna area, which is kind of like 300 miles or 250 miles east north. And then our next store was Terrace, which we actually haven't opened yet. Okay, and then our final store was North Vancouver. In terms of our brand, we went with a traditional retailing experience, a little bit different from some of the other stores. We went and we saw what all the other stores were doing, and a lot of them were. Everybody was, not that it's a bad way, but everybody was doing earthy tones, wood, sort of like an earthy BC experience. And we thought, let's take a bit of a gamble. Let's do old school. We'll do like fluorescent white pharmacy Miami Vice style, okay, with all of the cannabis displayed in old jewelry cases that you can come in and browse. As opposed to the ones where you have to go in and pick off a chart like a menu and they bring it to you. So we took a bit of a gamble. It paid off. We're getting a lot of people coming in. They like to browse. It's like being in a jewelry store, and they like they like the it's a little bit of retro Miami Vice. Next thing you have to get Don Johnson in there from the original show. He can be one of our bud masters. Joking. So yeah, we're having fun with it. We think we gamble correctly with the brand. We already, our mission statement at Quazam Media and On Track has always been to give the best customer service possible. So we have a huge thrust to a good customer experience, good customer service, and then in each location we have sort of a bud expert as the manager of that store, of that region, and that bud master is very familiar with cannabis, is very familiar with the market. And so we kind of honed the purchasing trend, the customer knowledge to each region. And it seems to be paying off.
So in retail also, are you looking at edibles and oils as well?
We're looking at everything. Whatever you can sell, we can sell it. The BC government determines what we're allowed to sell. We're all in. Okay, so we like to try it. Anything that comes up for sale, we're going to put it in into our display counters for purchase. We'll measure the metrics to see how it's rating against other products, and then if it works, we keep it coming. If it doesn't, we get rid of it. It's a standard retail operation where we have edibles, we have THC, we have CBD. Here's a funny thing: beverages have become a lot more popular. Beverages that have THC in them, and beverages that have just CBD in them. And we always we have fridges in our back locked areas, and so we always had cold drinks. We thought, hey, let's put a couple of locked, glass fridges in the front area, and let people can just browse, just like an old Coke machine. Of course, we have to keep it locked until they purchase. And sales tripled in drinks. So also people are buying like cold cannabis drinks, on a hot summer day. It's pretty funny. All the sayings about display and eye level display and get the product in front of the customer. They will buy. Put it on the shelf and they will buy. It's all true.
Yes, I know that the infused beverages is a really substantial. Well, it's not substantial yet, but it clearly appears to be an area in the market that has tremendous growth potential. So, talking about growth potential, you've got 7 licenses for retail. Where do you plan to go from here?
So right now, our plan is to have the maximum number of retail stores possible in British Columbia. So we like to have 8 up and running. We may swap out some of our rural ones for city ones. Right now we have 6 fully operational. We're looking at swapping out Terrace. And we're looking at 4 other sites right now that I can't say too much about them, but we're pretty close to a couple of very, very key sites in Vancouver, in the Cambie corridor, in the UBC area, in the West Van. We have an application going into West Van, which has just decided to go legal. They don't have any sites there at all yet. And we have one in Langley as well. We've actually, we've rented, we have 10-year leases on these stores, putting everything in on a solid pitch. For city council. We've hired top architectural firms. We have top accounting firms that are putting nice presentations together. We're offering the council members to come and get a view of our existing stores. So it's part of the process. You just have to do a really good job. and you have to make sure you have a good track record. I think we do so far. We tick both of those boxes, and then we have to convince the city council, or at least pitch them, that we're the best candidate. And I'm pretty confident that if we don't get all four, we'll for sure get three. So I think that it's a good bet that we're going to have 8 centers full blast in BC within 6 months.
Wow. So investors who are watching right now, they're all asking the same question, no matter which interview I'm doing. Why now? Why put my money into your company now? What's what's in it for me as the investor?
Well, first of all, we're almost like a startup in cannabis. Our sales have gone from 500,000 to 5 million. We haven't even gotten to the maximum of the number of stores we're allowed to have. We have a great brand. The market's increasing. People are accepting cannabis more than they ever have. The stigma of cannabis is disappearing. And people aren't just using, in the old days, if you would ask someone 5 years ago, they think, oh, cannabis, that means I'm going to smoke a reefer or a blunt or something. Oh, it's way more than that. You've already brought it up. Drinks, edibles, rubs, oils, vapes. It keeps increasing. And then they're even thinking about perhaps getting some magic mushrooms and psilocybin into stores. Of course, first of all, be marketed through stores like ours. So we're just at the very beginning of the market. So that's one way to to bet on it. But then again, if you want to see what a company's going to do, just look at what it's done. For companies that continue to expand its revenue that much, and I have to tell you right now, if we do get our 8 stores in the Lower Mainland area, you'll see revenues double or triple again. Okay, so put an F in there, an if in there, and we do rely on a safe harbor, so nothing's for sure. Okay, you have to do your research, do your due diligence. But I think most importantly is we're at a pivot point, not just in Canada for cannabis, but in the U.S. The U.S. has many states now that are legal in cannabis, and there is a bit of a foot dragger there, and that's the federal government. The federal government in the U.S. is not legal yet. So you have problems with the banking laws, problems with some of the public companies down there, the big boards. There still is a reluctance or an inability, certainly because of banking, for them to get into cannabis. And if that switch gets turned on, which I think is highly likely it will, Biden's already mentioned that looks positive. It's a great tax source for them, tax revenue source. The floodgates will open. It'll be a tremendous tidal wave of investment and interest from the U.S. We will be, like before, inundated by huge potential interest from U.S. investors, U.S. public companies, U.S. Investors that want to supercharge and ramp up their cannabis interest fast. And what better way to do it than go after the Canadian CSE companies, which are the only companies really that are trading cannabis effectively with positive growth in the world.
So there's a couple of potential strategies there. Then you could build into that American market if you choose to, or you could also look at relationships or even vending into a large American interest.
Both of them, 100%, 100%. If a company's doing 20 million a year with 21% EBITDA, you have a nice solid cash flow, nice solid war chest. You're not diluting your company anymore. It gives you a lot of options. Okay, it's a whole different game than a company that's just totally venture with no revenue. So I think it's a good, I think it's a very good strategy, and I think it has high potential, and it's pretty solid.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it's a pretty exciting time for you right now, and for people who are positioned like you are in this sector, I think that there is a tremendous amount of promise ahead. So, thank you very much for taking the time to sort of bring us up to speed on where you're at right now, and hopefully you'll come back in a couple of months and share some more exciting news with us.
Fantastic, Stuart. Thanks for your time, and it was a pleasure.
Very nice to meet you. Good luck. Best of
likewise. Thank you.
Best of all. We want this industry to succeed, because I think Canada finds itself in such a unique position globally right now because we are ahead of the pack.
Yeah, 100%. Forward thinking, great tax revenue base. I think it's just going to get better. He's really tapped into a great market.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Stuart.